Hey man, there's something you need to hear. You've been walking through life like you're invisible. But what if I told you, you're not just seen, you're felt? Not every man is like that. Not every man has the kind of silent power that makes people stop and take notice, even if they don't say a word. If you've ever wondered why some people treat you differently, why women stare a second too long, why other men get quiet when you enter the room, it's not random. It's not luck. It's you. Today, I'm going to show you 5 signs that you're not just attractive, you're magnetic. And once you recognize these signs, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Let's begin. Sign 1. People sense your presence before you speak. You don't have to say much. In fact, most of the time, you don't. You walk in, and something changes. No announcement, no performance, no attention-seeking. Just presence. Still, strong, calm. And yet, people notice. They glance up without knowing why. They stop mid-conversation. They shift their posture. Some get quiet. Some straighten their back. Some move out of your way not because they're afraid, but because something in you tells them to respect the space you're in. And here's the thing. It's not about being the biggest guy in the room. It's not about muscles or money or being the loudest voice. It's about how you carry your energy. You walk slowly, like you're not in a rush for anyone. You stand tall, not to show off, but because you don't shrink. Your eyes aren't scanning the room for approval. They're present, focused, quiet. People feel that, even if they can't explain it. Women feel it in their stomach, that strange flutter that comes when something real walks by. Men feel it in their pride, that quick internal question, who is this guy? You don't come in looking to compete. You're not chasing attention. You're just grounded. And in today's world, that alone makes you stand out. Most people walk into a room trying to be liked. You walk in with peace. And peace is powerful. It's magnetic. It shifts the atmosphere. It makes others unsure of their performance because you're not playing the same game. You don't force your presence. You don't demand space. You just own it effortlessly. And that's rare. Because here's the truth. In a world where everyone's trying to be seen, the one who needs nothing is the one everyone notices. That's not noise. That's not arrogance. That's presence. And presence like that, it speaks before you do. It's felt before you're heard. And once people feel it, they don't forget it. Sign 2. Women look at you, then look away fast. You've probably seen it happen, but maybe you didn't think much of it. You catch her looking at you, just for a moment. Then suddenly she looks away, like she wasn't looking at all. Like it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. That glance, that flicker of curiosity, that moment of hesitation, it means something was felt. And in that brief second, she saw something in you she wasn't ready to admit. She adjusts her hair, checks her phone, walks a little slower when she passes by. Maybe she doesn't say a word, but her energy changes when you're near. That's not random. That's recognition. Because when a man has real presence, grounded, silent, masculine, women feel it before they understand it. They pick it up like a signal. Something in you moves something in them. Some women stare longer. They want to test you. They want to see if you can hold their gaze without flinching. If you panic, look down, or seem unsure, she senses insecurity. But if you hold eye contact for just the right amount of time, not too much, not too little, and then look away like it's nothing, you just passed a silent test she didn't even realize she was giving. Other women won't even try to meet your eyes. Not because they aren't interested, but because it feels too real. too vulnerable, too intense. It unsettles them in the best way, because the kind of attraction you create isn't loud. It's not the kind that comes from looks alone. It's deeper, more emotional, more primal. It's your energy that pulls her attention, even if she's trying not to look. Even if she walks away, she's still thinking about you, still wondering why she felt something, still wondering what it was that made her nervous, excited, awake. And here's what most men miss. Women are intuitive. They don't glance twice at men who don't shift their emotional state. They don't linger unless something stirred in them. So the next time you notice a woman glance at you, then quickly look away. Don't brush it off. She's not avoiding you. She's reacting to your unspoken presence. And in her mind, there's a quiet question forming. Who is he? Why do I feel different around him? Why can't I ignore him? When a woman sees something real, she can't always explain it, but she feels it. And if she's reacting without words, you're doing something right, without doing anything at all. That's the kind of attraction you don't chase. You don't need to, because it's already moving toward you in silence. Sign 3. You speak slowly, and people listen. Most men think power comes from talking more, from having the cleverest comeback, from dominating every conversation and always having something to say. But the truth, real presence is quiet. Real power doesn't shout. It speaks slowly, clearly, from a place of stillness, not from a place of needing to be noticed. A man who doesn't know who he is. He talks fast. He fills every silence. He explains himself too much. He overcompensates, trying to sound confident, trying to sound smart, trying to win people over with words. But when a man is grounded in himself, when he's comfortable in his own skin, he doesn't talk to impress. He doesn't need to prove anything. His words slow down. His tone deepens. His breathing becomes steady. He pauses not awkwardly, but with intention, because he knows that silence is not empty. Silence is presence. And when you're not afraid of it, people feel your strength without you needing to explain it. People lean in when you talk, not because you're louder, but because you carry weight. You speak like you've thought before you spoke. You choose your words like they matter, and they do, because you're not rushing to be heard. You're already listening, and that alone makes people respect you. It's the space between your words that holds power. It's the stillness in your voice that makes your message echo long after you've said it. It's the calm that signals, I don't need to convince you. I already know what I believe. And women, they feel this instantly. They're not just hearing your words. They're feeling your energy. They notice the pause. They feel the quiet confidence. They sense that you're not performing. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to win approval. You're just being real. And that stillness, that patience, that unshakable calm, it's rare, it's masculine, and it's magnetic. Because in a world where most men are scrambling to be seen, you stand out simply by not chasing attention. You speak with clarity because your mind is clear. You speak with direction because your heart is steady. You speak with confidence because your confidence doesn't come from how others react. It comes from how deeply you know yourself. And people feel that. You'll notice the room gets quieter when you talk. You'll see eyes focus on you. You'll feel the weight of your own voice settle into the space around you. Because your words don't come from insecurity, they come from intention. And that's attractive, not in a loud, flashy, superficial way, but in a calm, deep, unforgettable way. When a man speaks like that, people trust him. Women remember him. because he doesn't just talk, he moves something inside you when he speaks. And if you've ever noticed people go silent when you start speaking, if women hold eye contact just a little longer when you're talking, if your voice seems to calm the energy in a room, that's not a small thing. That's not an accident. That's not a lucky moment. That's who you are when you're not performing. That's who you become when you stop rushing and start owning your stillness. In a world that's addicted to noise, stillness is power. Stillness is leadership. Stillness is seductive. So don't be afraid to slow down. Don't be afraid to pause. Don't be afraid to say less and mean more. Because when you do, people won't just hear you. They'll remember you. Sign 4. You make people question themselves. Sometimes people act strange around you. They stumble over their words. They over-explain simple things. They start laughing too hard at something that wasn't even funny, or suddenly go silent for no clear reason. They fidget. They shift their body. They adjust their tone. And you're left wondering, was it something I did? Did I come off too strong? Did I say something wrong? But the answer is often far more interesting and powerful. It's not that you're doing too much. It's that you're doing nothing unnecessary. And in today's world, that alone is unsettling. See, most people are always performing, trying to be liked, trying to be funny, trying to be impressive. Even if they don't realize it, their whole presence is about chasing approval. But when you walk in with no need to prove anything, that's when things shift. You're calm. You're still. You're grounded. You're not scanning the room to see how you're being received. Because you don't need to be. And that's exactly what makes people nervous. Because your energy is a mirror. It doesn't reflect their performance. It reflects their truth. When someone who is deeply secure walks into a room, it unconsciously forces others to ask themselves, why do I feel off around him? Why do I suddenly feel small? Why am I trying so hard right now? They feel your calm, and it reveals their anxiety. They feel your silence, and it exposes their noise. They feel your presence, and realize how much of themselves is missing. You're not judging them. You're not doing anything special. You're just being real, and that's what makes you different. And make no mistake, people feel that difference, even if they can't explain it. Some will respect it immediately. They'll admire your stillness. They'll sense your strength. They'll try to match your energy without even knowing why. Others will feel threatened by it, because your presence makes them aware of everything they're running from. And in that awareness, they start to shift, talk too much, try to impress you, or quietly withdraw. You're not just another face in the room. You're a reset button, a reality check, a quiet force that disrupts their emotional autopilot. And that's not something most people are used to. You don't need to correct people. You don't need to call anyone out. You just stand there, fully yourself, fully present, fully non-reactive. And suddenly the performance around you begins to unravel. That's the power of a man who knows himself. That's the presence of someone who no longer lives to be accepted, but lives in alignment with his own standard. This kind of attractiveness is not about surface. It's not about how you dress. It's not about status. It's not about dominance. It's about depth, emotional discipline, self-respect that radiates through the way you walk, stand, listen, and breathe. You don't chase conversations, but people still feel pulled to talk to you. You don't need the spotlight, but your presence lights up the space. You don't overpower others, you reveal them. And here's the most important part. If people have ever acted uncomfortable around you for no clear reason, don't shrink. Don't blame yourself. Don't take it personally. Take it as proof. proof that you carry a kind of energy that interrupts the script. Most people go through life with noise in their heads. You bring silence. Most people live in reaction. You bring intention. Most people are disconnected. You are aligned. That's not arrogance. That's not intimidation. That's power. True power. The kind that doesn't have to announce itself because it's already being felt. And when you move through life with this kind of silent awareness, you don't just get noticed, you get remembered. Sign 5. Women try to linger without looking obvious. Here's a truth most men never get taught. When a woman is drawn to you, she rarely tells you outright. She won't say, "I'm interested." She won't send you a message saying, "You make me feel something I can't explain." She won't walk across the room and hand you a compliment. Why? Because for her, that would feel too risky, too exposed, too vulnerable. So instead, she finds a softer way, a quiet way. She lingers, not obviously, not in a way the average man would notice. But if you're paying attention, you'll feel it. She's not just near you by chance. She's around you on purpose, but she makes it look like coincidence because that's how she protects herself. She might walk by you more than once, just close enough to be seen, never too close to be obvious. She might stand nearby at the gym, looking at her phone, adjusting her ponytail, fixing her shirt. You'll notice she doesn't need to be there, but she stays. She might ask you a question she already knows the answer to. Do you know what time it is? Is someone sitting here? What are you listening to? She's not asking because she doesn't know. She's asking because she wants to open a door, even if it's small. Even if she plays it off like it meant nothing. She laughs at something you said, even if it wasn't meant to be funny. She reacts to something in your voice, in your posture, in the way you carry yourself. She notices everything, and if she's interested, she stays close enough for you to notice her too. Here's the key. She doesn't want to make the first move, but she does want to be within reach. That way, if you notice her and respond, it feels natural, not forced, not desperate. And if you don't, she'll retreat quietly. But even then, you'll feel the tension linger in the space she left behind. Now, here's the part most men miss entirely. She might not even understand what she's feeling. She just knows that your energy makes her feel something. She doesn't know if it's love. She doesn't know if it's desire. Sometimes it's not even romantic. Sometimes your presence just wakes something up in her that's been asleep. A memory. A longing, a sense of safety, a spark of danger. Whatever it is, it pulls her toward you, again and again. But she won't tell you that. She'll just linger, not loudly, not directly, but consistently. She'll stick around longer than she needs to. She'll walk slower when she passes you. She'll fidget more when you're near. She'll wait a few seconds longer before she turns away. She could have walked away. She could have gone to another room. She could have sat somewhere else. But she didn't. And that matters. Because when a woman has the option to leave, but she stays, even without a reason, that is the reason. Now here's where this gets deeper. Attractive men, truly grounded, emotionally strong men, don't chase. They don't try to impress. They don't beg for attention or approval. They just exist fully in their own space. Still, confident, calm, and that presence, without effort, without need, makes the world rearrange itself. It pulls people in. A man like that doesn't chase women, but women still move toward him, not always physically, but emotionally. They feel it in their body. They feel it in the silence. They feel it when you don't rush, don't push, and don't flinch. And here's the most powerful part. She might never say anything out loud. She might never admit what she felt around you. But her actions, her closeness, her timing, her repetition, those are her language. That's how women speak when words aren't safe yet. She's waiting to see if you feel it too, without her having to explain it. Because women aren't drawn to noise. They're drawn to energy, to depth, to presence, to the kind of man who doesn't run after anything but lets what's real find him. So if you've noticed a woman stay near, even without reason, even without conversation, even when she didn't need to be there, that's not random. That's her saying, I'm drawn to something I don't understand yet. And your job isn't to chase. It's not to decode everything. It's simply to be aware and stay grounded in who you are. Because a man who knows himself doesn't have to reach. He attracts the truth you were never told. Look, attraction has never been about having the perfect jawline, a designer suit, or the latest car. It's never been about how loud you are in a room, or how many followers you have, or how impressive your resume sounds. Attraction, the kind that pulls people toward you without a word, isn't about noise. It's about energy. It's about truth. It's about how deeply you know yourself and how little you need from anyone else. It's in the way you walk without rushing, the way your eyes stay steady when everyone else is trying to be noticed, the way you move like a man who doesn't need the world's approval to feel complete. That kind of presence doesn't need attention. It commands it without asking. And if even one of the signs we talked about sounded familiar to you, then I want you to pause for a second and let that sink in. Because that means you're not just attractive. You're rare. You're magnetic. You carry something most men live and die without ever realizing they had. But here's the truth no one tells you. The most powerful men you've ever admired, they didn't start out knowing they were powerful. In fact, for a long time, they probably felt invisible, too calm, too quiet, too different from the men who always took up space. So they stayed in the background. They blended in. They tried to fit into a world that only celebrates the loud and the obvious. But eventually, they stopped pretending. They stopped performing. They stopped explaining themselves to people who never took the time to understand them. And in that stillness, they found something that couldn't be taken away. They found their center. And once a man finds that, everything changes. So maybe, just maybe, you've been walking around your whole life thinking something was missing in you, when really, you've just been underestimating your presence. Maybe your strength was never meant to be loud. Maybe it was always meant to be felt. And now is the time to stop shrinking, to stop lowering your tone to make others feel taller, to stop doubting what you know in your gut just because the world hasn't reflected it back yet. You don't need to add anything fake to who you are. You don't need to perform to be valuable. You don't need to impress to be worthy. You just need to finally see yourself as you are, not through their eyes, but through your own. Because once you recognize your worth, you stop chasing people who can't see it. You stop explaining yourself to people who aren't listening. You stop needing permission to take up space. Once you own your energy, your stillness speaks louder than anyone's shouting. Your presence walks into the room before your body does. And suddenly, the world responds to you not because you chased it, but because you aligned with it. So the next time you walk into a room, don't look around for validation. Don't shrink your presence to avoid being misunderstood. Don't adjust your posture to make others feel comfortable. Stand still. Stand tall. Let your silence be the first thing they hear. Because a man like you doesn't need to be explained. He needs to be experienced. You were never ordinary. You were just unaware. And now that you know who you are, they will too. So go live your life, not to be seen, not to be followed, but to simply be who you are without apology. Because in the end, the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more men who carry peace and don't flinch when no one claps for them. Be that man, and let the world adjust.